we must set watch upon them, baiting our snares with the worms of profit.
That seemed way cooler in the trailer. Hey guys, this is Mogamu, and Vauban has finally been primed, literally every part of him. We're not going to talk about that. And if you want to pick him up, you can buy him in the Prime Access, or if you need to farm him, I'll put the drop locations up right now on the screen and a link below. Remember, the link below can be trusted a lot more in the future. Now, he actually is a little bit better with his stats. His shield has been increased from 75 up to 100 shield, and his armor has been doubled from 50 up to 100. Even though he has that armor buff, he's still really squishy. I would say definitely sit back with him and use him more of a defensive point type character. But the cool thing is he's actually getting a passive really soon where he's going to buff up the armor of his teammates within range. We don't know yet if that's going to actually give him more armor, but at least it'll help your teammates. Now, it's not just his stats that were improved. Actually, his balls got a buff. His second ability, which used to be bounce, actually has 4 abilities like Ivara, where one ability is going to be bounce, which actually comes with a magnetic proc, and it's going to actually take 75% of shields away from enemy. He has trip laser now, which trips enemies, and it's freaking hilarious. Shred is actually going to reduce enemy armor by 40%. That is affected by power strength mods. We'll talk about that in the modding section. And Concuss, which will actually stun enemies, it'll deaf enemies, and is going to confuse any enemy that it hits with the AoE with radiation. Now, I do like the way the abilities work, but I think the button pressing is still a little bit fidgety. I think it's the same way with Ivara, so it might be a little bit hard to adjust to that in the middle of combat. So as far as mods, you guys must do this exact build or your build sucks. Just kidding, of course, guys. Mod any way you want. I think what you want to do is find a personal balance between range and duration. So right now I'm using Cunning, Drift, Overextended, and Stretch. This is only one forma, and so my Stretch is rank 4 instead of 5. That extra rank only cost me like a meter on Vortex, so it's really not a big deal unless you're just OCD about it. But the rank 4 works out totally fine. And I added duration with continuity and narrow-minded. Now the thing about this is narrow-minded is going to lose you some range, so this is going to be built mostly for a defense situation where Vauban really shines, I think. So if you want to do run and gun, this probably isn't the best thing, but if you're just sitting defending a point, then this is going to be absolutely great. Now, because his Bastille is based on power strength, let's go ahead and add Repelling Bastille, because it goes down to like 4 enemies with Overextended. That's not going to be enough. Repelling Bastille is going to actually keep more enemies out, so that's going to be pretty cool. Now, what I do want to talk about is the armor reduction on Shred, because it is a 40% armor reduction. It's affected by power strength, but the rough thing about this is 40% is actually not enough. So if you want to completely remove armor from an enemy, you do need about 250% power strength in the UI, which is like Blind Rage and Transient Fortitude. That's a high cost to your build. I don't think that's worth pulling enemy armor off. And if you were to go with Transient Fortitude, Intensify, and Power Drift, it actually isn't enough. That's 80%. And I can promise you the difference between 80% armor reduction and 100% is huge at high level. So I don't really think modding towards the armor reduction at 40% is, I don't think that's going to be a good build at all. So my final thoughts on Vauban Prime, I definitely love the idea of having more multi-use abilities, even though it's a little bit fidgety. However, as fun as Trip Laser is, your abilities like Bastille and Vortex actually are going to be a little bit more effective per energy cost, especially with their ability to just AoE crowd control enemies everywhere. So even though Trip Laser is fun, I definitely think Bastille and Vortex are probably what you're going to fall back on in the end. But that's just honestly complaining, because I think at this point Vauban is fun enough to use and not really worry about how effective those abilities are. And look, let's be honest, you guys are just going to get him for his looks anyway. The train helmet, the tuxedo tail, the prime golden nipples, and of course the balls. Once again guys, please subscribe to the channel and check out the Warframe playlist for more Warframe videos.